The Galactic Council's assumption. In a vast chamber on the planet Zorith, the Galactic Council convened. This council was a gathering of powerful alien leaders from various star systems. Each represented a different race, with unique abilities and perspectives. They met to discuss the rising influence of humans in the galaxy. Chancellor Thrax, a tall reptilian being with shimmering scales, stood at the head of the table. His sharp eyes scanned the faces of the other council members. "We must address the humans," he declared. "They think they are becoming a major player in galactic affairs, but they are merely children playing in a dangerous universe." The other members nodded in agreement. Valora, a small blue-skinned alien with large expressive eyes, chimed in. "I have observed them. Humans are quick to anger and easily frightened. They avoid confrontation at all costs. They will not dare challenge us." The council was convinced of their superiority. They believed that the humans were weak, that their fear of war would prevent them from taking any action against the council's wishes. Valora continued, "We should send a message to Earth, a warning that they must stay out of our business. Let them know their place." Creel, a stocky alien with 6 arms and a deep voice, leaned forward. "But what if they don't listen? What if they grow bolder?" He scratched his chin, pondering the thought. Thrax waved his hand dismissively. "Let them try. We will crush any uprising. Humans may have advanced technology, but they lack the unity and strength of our races. We are a united council, and they are but a single planet." The council members began to discuss the details of their message. They decided it should be firm yet clear. They would warn humans to refrain from interfering in galactic matters. The message would remind them of their limitations and emphasize the power of the Galactic Council. As they debated the wording, a sense of arrogance filled the room. They truly believed that no human would dare oppose them. Meanwhile, back on Earth, a group of human leaders gathered in a sleek conference room. They were representatives from various countries, scientists, and military officials, all eager to learn about the Galactic Council's warning. The news had spread quickly. They were aware of the Council's growing concern about human activities in space, and now they had a clear message from the aliens. "Do you think we should take this seriously?" asked Sarah, a young scientist with a passion for space exploration. She leaned forward, her brow furrowed in thought. "We need to understand the implications of their warning." General Hawkins, a veteran military officer, shook his head. "I believe it is a bluff. They think we are weak, but they underestimate us. We have achieved so much in such a short time. We should prepare ourselves, not cower." "Prepare for what?" asked David, a diplomatic advisor. "We don't know what they are capable of. They may have technology beyond our understanding. We must tread carefully." As the human leaders debated, they felt a mix of anxiety and determination. Many believed that humans had the potential to rise above the Council's assumptions. But how? They knew they had to unite and show the Council that they would not be easily intimidated. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, Thrax and the others finalized their message. "Let it be clear," Thrax announced. "We are powerful, and we will not tolerate any disruption from Earth. We will watch closely." With the message sent, the council members leaned back, satisfied with their decision. They felt a sense of security, convinced the humans would bow to their authority. Little did they know, this arrogance would soon be challenged. As the days passed, the humans analyzed the council's warning. In secret meetings, they discussed their strengths and weaknesses. They began to see this not as a threat, but as an opportunity. Sarah proposed that they should gather their best minds and prepare for any possible encounters. "We cannot show weakness," she insisted. "We must prove that we can stand shoulder to shoulder with the strongest races in the galaxy." The meeting ended with a new sense of purpose. They agreed to form a task force to prepare for possible interactions with the Galactic Council. Each member left with a fire ignited in their hearts, determined to show that humans were not afraid of the challenges that lay ahead. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council remained unaware of the brewing storm. They celebrated their perceived victory over humans, not realizing that they were about to face an unexpected force. The council believed they had everything under control, but soon they would discover that humans were not as afraid of war as they thought. As the council members basked in their confidence, the stage was set for a clash of ideals and strength. The Galactic Council had made a grave assumption, and the humans were ready to prove them wrong. The future of the galaxy was about to change, and no one was prepared for the outcome. This part sets the stage for the conflict, showcasing the Council's arrogance and the humans' determination to prove their worth. The next part will explore how the humans respond to the challenge and prepare for what lies ahead. Humans prepare for a response. The news of the Galactic Council's warning spread like wildfire across Earth. The urgency was palpable, with media outlets buzzing and citizens discussing the implications of an impending conflict. The human leaders knew they had to act swiftly and strategically. The task force, dubbed Operation Unity, was formed to unify their resources and intellect. Sarah, the young scientist who sparked the initial conversation, was appointed as the head of the task force. She was excited but also anxious about the responsibility on her shoulders. She gathered a team of experts from various fields: engineers, strategists, diplomats, and military leaders, to brainstorm and develop a plan. In a high-tech command center, Sarah stood before a large screen displaying the Galactic Council's message. The faces of the council members loomed over them, symbols of authority and perceived invincibility. "We need to show them that humans are not to be underestimated," she declared, looking at her team. "We must demonstrate our resolve and capabilities." General Hawkins spoke up. "I suggest we enhance our military readiness. We have advanced technology that they may not expect. We can use that to our advantage. We need to prepare our fleets and test our new weapons." "We must also focus on diplomacy," interjected David, the diplomatic advisor. "While we strengthen our military, we should also reach out to other alien races. Some might be sympathetic to our cause. We need allies." The team agreed that a multifaceted approach was essential. They began to strategize on multiple fronts: increasing military readiness, enhancing technology, and establishing diplomatic connections with other races. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council chamber, Thrax and his fellow council members were pleased with the current state of affairs. They felt secure in their power, convinced that their warning had instilled fear in the hearts of humans. But unbeknownst to them, humans were rallying together, preparing for a response that would shake the very foundations of their assumptions. Back on Earth, Sarah's team worked tirelessly. They developed a plan to upgrade existing spacecraft and enhance defensive systems. Engineers worked day and night, pushing the limits of human ingenuity. They tested new energy shields and faster-than-light travel capabilities, ensuring that they could stand toe-to-toe with any alien threat. As they labored, they also reached out to various alien races across the galaxy. Through covert communications, they sought potential allies. They sent messages to peaceful factions, explaining their situation and the threats posed by the Galactic Council. The hope was to build a coalition that could counterbalance the Council's power. In one such message, Sarah wrote, "We are facing a powerful adversary, but we believe that together we can ensure peace and security in our region of the galaxy. We seek your support against those who wish to intimidate and control us." To their surprise, several races responded positively. Many had felt the weight of the Galactic Council's arrogance and were eager to join forces with the humans. Meetings were set up, and representatives from different races began to communicate and plan. This newfound alliance gave humans a glimmer of hope. They realized that they were not alone in their struggle. As the days turned into weeks, the task force made significant progress. They had developed new technology, and their fleets were ready for action. The humans had transformed their fear into determination and resolve. They would no longer be passive observers. They would become active participants in their fate. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council remained oblivious to the changes occurring on Earth. They continued their discussions, confident in their belief that humans were nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Thrax often repeated, "They will bow to us. We need not worry." But as the council celebrated their perceived dominance, the humans were hard at work, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. The stage was set for a showdown, one that would challenge the council's assumptions and change the course of history. The preparations culminated in a grand assembly on Earth. Human leaders, scientists, and military personnel gathered to present their findings and strategies. Sarah stood before a crowd of eager faces, feeling the surge of determination. "We stand united," she declared. "We will not be intimidated. We will show the Galactic Council that humanity is not afraid of war." As the room erupted in applause, the spirit of defiance grew stronger. The humans were ready to face the Council, to defend their right to exist and thrive in the galaxy. Little did they know that the confrontation would not only test their strength, but also reveal the true nature of their spirit. With both sides preparing for the inevitable clash, the story of humanity's defiance and the Galactic Council's arrogance was only just beginning. Part 3 would delve deeper into the confrontation as the two sides prepared to face one another, each unaware of the lessons that awaited them. The tensions rise. As the preparations continued, tension filled the air across both Earth and the Galactic Council. Sarah and her team worked relentlessly, knowing that the time for action was drawing near. The task force met daily, strategizing and fine-tuning their plans. They had received encouraging responses from several alien races willing to support them. But the real challenge lay ahead, facing the Galactic Council. One day, as Sarah reviewed their battle strategies, she received an unexpected message from a new ally, the Arcanites. This race, known for their advanced technology and rich history, offered a substantial fleet and weaponry to assist the humans. The Arcanite leader, a wise and courageous being named Kale, sent a message that read, "We have seen the tyranny of the Galactic Council. Together, we can turn the tide of this conflict. Our ships will join yours when the time comes." The news electrified Sarah and her team. This alliance would strengthen their position and send a strong message to the Council. They quickly arranged a holographic meeting with Kale to discuss the logistics of their collaboration. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council chamber, Thrax had begun to feel a shift in the atmosphere. Reports of strange alliances forming among the humans and other alien races reached him. "What are they planning?" he pondered, his confidence beginning to waver. "They cannot possibly challenge us." Thrax convened an emergency council meeting to address these developments. As the representatives gathered, Thrax's tone was firm. "We must remind the humans of their place. We will send a demonstration of our power, a warning that they cannot ignore." The council members nodded, each eager to showcase their might. They decided to deploy a small fleet to Earth to intimidate the humans and assert their dominance. Little did they know, this move would only further galvanize humanity's resolve. Back on Earth, Sarah and her team were busy finalizing their preparations. They discussed strategies and coordinated with the Arcanites. The combined fleets would be a formidable force, and the humans felt a sense of camaraderie with their new allies. The thought of standing alongside others who had faced oppression stirred something deep within them, a longing for freedom and equality. As the meeting concluded, Sarah stepped outside for a moment of reflection. The weight of their mission settled heavily on her shoulders. She gazed up at the stars, the vastness of space both intimidating and inspiring. "We can do this," she whispered to herself. "We will show them that we are not afraid." The days passed, and soon the Galactic Council's fleet arrived in Earth's orbit. It was an impressive sight, a mass of powerful ships glimmering under the sun. The humans watched from their command center, anxiety and determination swirling within them. "Look at them," General Hawkins remarked, his voice steady. "They think they can intimidate us, but they don't know what we're capable of." As the Council's ships positioned themselves strategically, Sarah initiated a broadcast to rally her people. "This is our moment," she proclaimed. "We will not be cowed by their threats. Together with our allies, We will stand firm against this display of power." Her words ignited a fire in the hearts of those listening. Humanity was ready to defend their home, to protect their freedom. Thrax, watching from his flagship, saw the broadcast. He chuckled, dismissing Sarah's words as foolish bravado. "Let them rally," he said to his fellow council members. "They will soon realize the futility of their actions." With a wave of his hand, he ordered the fleet to fire a warning shot toward Earth. The sky lit up as the powerful energy beam shot across the vastness, landing just outside the atmosphere. The impact sent tremors through the ground, a clear message of their strength. But rather than fear, the display ignited a fierce determination among the humans. Sarah turned to her team, her eyes ablaze with resolve. "This is it. They think they can scare us, but we will show them our true strength. We will not back down." As the humans prepared to respond, the Arcanite fleet arrived, gliding gracefully into position beside the Earth fleet. Kale, the Arcanite leader, transmitted a message to Sarah. "We stand ready. Together, we will show the Council that their tyranny will not go unchallenged." With the two fleets side by side, the atmosphere grew electric. The humans and their allies, once seen as insignificant, now stood united against a common foe. The Galactic Council was about to face a confrontation unlike anything it had anticipated. The tension was thick, each side preparing for what could be the defining moment of their futures. The Council's arrogance faced a new reality as Sarah and her allies readied themselves for the fight of their lives. Part 4 would dive into the confrontation, where both sides would finally engage, and the true strength of humanity and their allies would be tested against the overwhelming power of the Galactic Council. The outcome of this battle would determine the fate of countless lives across the galaxy. The clash of forces. The atmosphere was thick with tension as the two fleets prepared for battle. The Galactic Council's ships loomed ominously in Earth's orbit, a demonstration of their power meant to intimidate and suppress. On the other side, the united fleets of humanity and the Arcanites stood resolute, ready to prove their strength and resilience. Sarah stood at the command center, her heart racing with a mix of fear and determination. Around her, the crew members were focused, their faces lit by the flickering screens displaying the positions of both fleets. The hum of machinery and the sharp sound of commands filled the air, creating a cacophony that matched the anticipation in her chest. "Status report," Sarah called out, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "Captain, the Arcanite fleet has positioned itself alongside ours," replied Lieutenant Garcia, tapping away at the control panel. "We have a total of 50 ships ready for battle. The Council's fleet is nearly double our numbers, but we have the element of surprise." The truth of their situation settled over them like a heavy cloak. While they might be outnumbered, they had something the Council did not: unity and the fire of determination. Sarah knew they had to strike first, to show the Council that they would not be passive victims. "Prepare to engage," she commanded, her voice firm. "We fight for our freedom, and for those who cannot fight for themselves." As the orders were relayed, the crews sprang into action, readying the weapons and activating the shields. Across the ships, a sense of camaraderie blossomed among the humans and their Arcanite allies. They were no longer just separate entities, they were a united force standing against tyranny. Meanwhile, on the flagship of the Galactic Council, Thrax watched the humans' preparations with growing annoyance. "They think they can challenge us," he sneered, his eyes narrowed. "Prepare the fleet for full engagement. Show them what true power looks like." With a swift motion, he signaled for the Council's ships to move into formation, their weapon systems primed and ready. The Council members, emboldened by their size, were confident that this show of force would crush any hopes of rebellion. As the two fleets began to close the distance, Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline. She looked around at her crew, seeing the determination reflected in their eyes. "Remember why we fight," she said, her voice cutting through the noise. "For our friends, for our families, and for our future." With a final breath, the battle commenced. A flurry of energy blasts lit up the darkness of space as the two sides collided. The initial shockwaves reverberated through the ships, shaking the crew as they engaged the enemy. The Council's ships opened fire, brilliant beams of energy streaking through space, some narrowly missing Sarah's ship. "Evasive maneuvers," she shouted, gripping the control panel as her crew quickly adjusted their course. Their Arcanite allies responded with swift precision, launching counterattacks that began to take down the Council ships one by one. Sarah watched in awe as the advanced technology of the Arcanites showcased its brilliance. Their ships moved gracefully, dodging incoming fire and returning shots that seemed to explode in bursts of color against the dark backdrop of space. "Focused fire on their command ship," Sarah ordered, her eyes locked on the flagship of the Galactic Council. If they could take down Thrax's ship, it might cause chaos among the Council's ranks. "On it," Lieutenant Garcia replied, his fingers flying over the controls. "Ready. Fire." The combined fleets unleashed a volley of laser beams toward the Council's flagship. The energy beams collided with the ship's shields, creating an intense flash. For a moment, it seemed as though they might penetrate the defenses, but Thrax was quick to react. "Activate the defensive systems. We cannot afford to lose our command ship," he bellowed, fury rising in his chest. The shields flared brighter, absorbing the incoming blasts, but the impact rattled the ship. As the battle raged on, Sarah could feel the stakes rising. Each ship that fell on either side carried the weight of countless lives, each explosion a reminder of the fierce struggle for freedom. The air buzzed with energy, and the sense of camaraderie between humans and Arcanites grew stronger with each passing moment. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupted from the Council's fleet, sending debris scattering across the battlefield. Sarah's heart raced as she realized they had taken out one of their larger vessels. "Keep pushing forward," she shouted, invigorated by the success. As the battle reached a fever pitch, the tides began to turn in favor of the United Forces. The Galactic Council's confidence began to wane as their ships were overwhelmed. The Arcanite technology and human tenacity proved to be a potent combination. But just as victory seemed within reach, Thrax unleashed a desperate measure. "Activate the dreadnought," he ordered, his voice filled with rage. A massive ship, previously hidden within the Council's fleet, emerged, dwarfing all others. Its weapon systems began to charge, ready to unleash devastation upon the combined forces of humanity and Arcanites. "Brace for impact," Sarah screamed, her heart sinking as she realized the new threat. The dreadnought aimed its colossal cannons at them, and the countdown began. In that moment, unity and courage surged through Sarah. She looked at her crew and knew they had come too far to back down now. "We will not be cowed," she declared. "We fight together, or we fall together." As the dreadnought prepared to fire, a plan began to form in her mind. They needed to take down the dreadnought before it could unleash its full might. "All ships, focus fire on the dreadnought." Now, with a resounding cheer, the combined fleets unleashed everything they had left. The energy beams lit up the battlefield as they surged toward the massive ship, aiming for its weak points. The dreadnought fired its cannons, and the world seemed to slow as Sarah watched the blasts heading straight for them. The impact would be catastrophic unless they could strike first. Part 5 would delve into this climactic moment as the fleets clash against the dreadnought, and the true resolve of humanity is tested. Would Sarah and her allies succeed, or would this battle mark the end of their fight for freedom? The outcome of this confrontation could change the fate of the galaxy forever. The turning tide. The atmosphere aboard Sarah's ship was charged with a mix of determination and fear. The dreadnought's colossal cannons charged ominously, and the crew could feel the weight of the moment. As the countdown approached 0, Sarah knew they had to act quickly. "Prepare to engage the dreadnought," she shouted, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. "Target its weapon systems and shield generators. We have to neutralize that threat before it fires." The crew sprang into action, fingers flying over control panels, targeting systems locking onto the massive dreadnought. They understood what was at stake. If the dreadnought fired, it could devastate their fleet, ending their fight for freedom before it truly began. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Lieutenant Garcia called out, his eyes focused on the screen. The ship's weapons unleashed a volley of brilliant energy blasts that hurtled toward the dreadnought. The dreadnought's shields flared as it absorbed some of the incoming fire, but cracks began to form under the relentless assault. Sarah's heart raced with hope as she saw the first signs of damage. "Keep firing. We need to break through," she urged her crew. Meanwhile, on the dreadnought, Thrax seethed with frustration. "What are they doing? They dare to attack our flagship," he shouted at his crew, his eyes wild with rage. "Return fire. Show them the true power of the Galactic Council." The dreadnought's cannons unleashed a torrent of energy blasts, and the crew braced themselves as the projectiles raced toward them. The impacts shook Sarah's ship violently, warning sirens blaring as the hull creaked under the pressure. "Shields holding at 50%, a crew member shouted, but Sarah knew they couldn't rely on their shields forever. They had to strike hard and fast. "Reroute all power to the forward weapons," Sarah commanded. "We need to make our shots count." As the crew worked to comply, the energy beams from the dreadnought continued to rain down. A few ships in the Allied fleet were caught in the onslaught, their explosions lighting up the dark void of space. Each loss weighed heavily on Sarah's heart, fueling her resolve to see this battle through. Suddenly, a brilliant flash illuminated the battlefield. A lucky shot had breached the dreadnought's shields, sending sparks and debris flying. Sarah's eyes widened with excitement. "We're getting through. Keep it up," she urged her team, feeling the adrenaline pumping through her veins. With renewed energy, the united fleet pressed their attack. Energy beams from both the humans and the Arcanites focused on the dreadnought, aiming for its now exposed weak points. The dreadnought returned fire, but it was becoming clear that it was losing its effectiveness. "Captain, we're gaining ground," Garcia announced, a grin spreading across his face. "The dreadnought's shields are weakening. We can take it down. Target their weapon systems now. We need to eliminate their ability to fire back," Sarah ordered, her heart racing. They were close to turning the tide of the battle, and she wouldn't let the opportunity slip away. As they unleashed another wave of energy blasts, Sarah watched with bated breath. The impact struck the dreadnought, causing it to shudder violently. A second flash erupted as another section of the shield collapsed, and the crew erupted into cheers. But just as hope soared, the dreadnought retaliated, firing another round of energy blasts. Sarah gritted her teeth as the energy beams streaked through space, heading straight for their flagship. They had to act quickly. "Brace for impact," she shouted, gripping the control panel as the ship shook under the force of the incoming fire. "Evasive maneuvers," Garcia yelled, his hands dancing over the controls as he tried to steer the ship away from the worst of the blasts. The crew fought against the onslaught, struggling to keep the ship steady. The dreadnought's cannon fire struck the shields again, and Sarah felt the tremors reverberate through the ship. Their defenses were holding, but for how long? They had to end this fight before they took any more losses. "Now, focus fire on the dreadnought's core," Sarah commanded, her voice firm and unyielding. The crew rallied, their determination shining through the fear. The combined fleets unleashed their might, energy beams converging on the dreadnought. The core glowed ominously, and Sarah could see it struggling to contain the power within. They were getting closer, and she knew this was the moment that could change everything. With a final push, the energy blast struck the core of the dreadnought, and a brilliant explosion erupted. Light filled the void, illuminating the battlefield as the dreadnought was engulfed in a blinding inferno. The shockwave rippled through space, and the crew felt it jolt their ship. Sarah's heart raced as she witnessed the dreadnought's destruction. The Galactic Council had lost its most powerful weapon, and with it, their grip on the battle. Cheers erupted from the crew as they realized what had just happened. They had done it. They had taken down the dreadnought. But even as victory hung in the air, Sarah knew the battle was far from over. The remaining ships of the Galactic Council were reeling, their morale shattered, but they were still dangerous. "Stay alert," she called out, her voice firm. "The fight isn't over yet." As the Allied fleet regrouped, Sarah knew they had to push their advantage. With their newfound hope and unity, they were ready to face whatever came next. Part 6 would delve into the aftermath of the battle, where the humans and Arcanites would have to deal with the consequences of their victory and prepare for the next phase of their fight against the Galactic Council. Would they be able to rally together and seize the moment, or would the Council regroup and strike back harder than ever? The outcome of this conflict would shape the future of their alliance and the fate of the galaxy. The aftermath of victory. The explosion of the dreadnought sent shockwaves through the battlefield. As the light dimmed, the remnants of the once mighty ship floated in debris, a grim reminder of the power humans and their allies now wielded. The Galactic Council's fleet, disoriented and shaken, struggled to regroup in the void of space. Sarah stood on the bridge of her ship, her heart still racing from the battle. The crew was jubilant, high-fiving and cheering, but she knew better than to let their guard down. Victory in one battle did not guarantee success in the next. "Status report," Sarah called out, her voice cutting through the celebration. She needed to understand the bigger picture. "Captain, we've sustained minor damage," Garcia reported, scanning the control panels. "Our shields are at 70%. The crew is ready for anything." "Good. What about the enemy fleet?" Sarah pressed, her eyes fixed on the view screen where the remnants of the battle lingered. "They're retreating, but we can't let them escape. They'll regroup and come back stronger," Garcia warned. Sarah nodded, understanding the urgency. "We need to pursue them. Send a message to the Allied fleet. We cannot let this opportunity slip away. Prepare for engagement." As orders flew around the bridge, Sarah couldn't help but think of the cost of their victory. The battle had taken a toll on both sides, and she remembered the explosions that had taken her allies. She could still hear the echoes of their cries in her mind. She would honor their sacrifices by ensuring that this fight was not in vain. Within moments, the Allied fleet reformed, their ships aligning behind Sarah's command vessel. The display on the view screen showed the remaining ships of the Galactic Council trying to make their escape, their engines firing as they fled into the darkness of space. "Engage pursuit," Sarah commanded, her voice filled with determination. The fleet surged forward, engines roaring to life as they raced after the enemy. As they closed the distance, Sarah felt a surge of adrenaline. This was the moment they could turn the tide of the war against the Galactic Council. If they could capture or destroy the fleeing ships, it would send a powerful message to the rest of the galaxy that humans and their allies were not to be underestimated. "Prepare to fire at will," she ordered, her eyes locked on the enemy ships. "Let them know we are coming." The crew responded, focusing on their tasks as the ship's weapons came online. The first volley of energy blasts erupted from the ship, tearing through the void toward the fleeing enemy. Each shot was a declaration of their newfound strength and unity. The Galactic Council's ships tried to evade, but Sarah had learned from their earlier encounters. With the combined tactics of the humans and Arcanites, they had anticipated their movements. More blasts found their targets, and the enemy ships exploded one by one, illuminating the darkness with fiery destruction. "Captain, we've got a ship trying to break off from the main group," one crew member shouted, pointing at the screen. It was smaller and faster, attempting to escape. "Let it go. Focus on the larger vessels. We need to deal with their heavy hitters first," Sarah ordered, knowing the strategy was vital. As the pursuit continued, the crew worked tirelessly, coordinating attacks and ensuring they maximized their chances of victory. Each explosion was met with cheers from the crew, but Sarah kept a steely focus. This battle was not over yet. After what felt like an eternity, the last of the remaining Galactic Council ships was captured or destroyed. The space around them fell silent, littered with debris. Sarah let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "We did it," Garcia said, a wide grin on his face. "We really did it." Sarah smiled back, her heart swelling with pride for her crew. But deep inside, she knew that their victory had come at a cost. There would be repercussions, and the Galactic Council would not simply allow them to rise without a fight. "Send a message to the Allied fleet," Sarah instructed. "Let them know we've secured a significant victory today. But we must remain vigilant. The Council will regroup, and we need to be ready for whatever comes next." As the crew celebrated, Sarah moved to the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. The vastness of space had never felt more intimidating. Despite their success, she could sense the darkness lurking beyond the light. The Galactic Council would retaliate. She had no doubt about that. The thought weighed heavily on her. They had taken down a dreadnought, but what other weapons did the Council possess? How many more lives would be lost in the name of freedom? These questions nagged at her, fueling her determination to prepare for the challenges ahead. Meanwhile, on the Council's home planet, leaders gathered in a dark chamber, their expressions grim. Thrax's fury was palpable as he paced before them, recounting the disastrous battle. "They think they can defy us, that their victory means anything," he raged, slamming his fist on the table. "We will make them pay." The Council members exchanged worried glances, but they have proven themselves formidable. Their tactics have improved, and their alliance with the Arcanites could threaten our rule, one of them cautioned. "Then we must crush them before they gain any more strength." Thrax shouted, his eyes blazing with rage. "I will not allow a group of insignificant humans to challenge the Galactic Council. We must devise a plan, and we must act quickly." Back on Sarah's ship, she received word from the Allied fleet that they would be heading to a nearby starbase to regroup and reassess their strategy. Sarah knew that they needed to fortify their defenses and gather intelligence on the Council's next moves. As they made their way to the starbase, Sarah prepared herself and her crew for the coming challenges. The war was far from over, and they needed to stay united. Each day would bring new trials, and she would face them head-on. Part 7 would explore the aftermath of their victory at the starbase, where they would prepare for the next battle against the Galactic Council. Would their alliance remain strong, or would the Council find a way to exploit their weaknesses? The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance as Sarah and her crew prepared for what lay ahead. Preparing for the storm. The journey to the starbase was filled with a mixture of anticipation and tension. Sarah stood on the bridge of her ship, gazing at the distant lights of the starbase growing closer. It was a place of safety and strategy, but she knew that it would only be a brief respite. The Galactic Council would not take their defeat lightly, and she felt a chill run down her spine at the thought of what was to come. He approached with a serious expression. "I've been waiting for you. We need to discuss our next steps immediately." "Lead the way, Commander," Sarah replied, her mind racing with possibilities. They walked briskly to the command center, where holographic displays showed the latest reports and intel from the battle. Inside the command center, various leaders from both the human and Arcanite fleets gathered. Sarah took a moment to scan the room, noting the tension etched on each face. Everyone understood the gravity of their situation. They had won a significant battle, but the war was far from over. "Thank you for joining us, Captain," Lai said, standing at the head of the table. "We need to analyze what we've learned from our recent victory. The Galactic Council will not be idle. They will be plotting their retaliation." Sarah nodded, her mind shifting gears. "We need to focus on gathering intelligence about their next moves. Do we have any reports on their current fleet status?" One of the officers at the table responded, "We've intercepted some communications. They are in disarray but are mobilizing their remaining forces. They are also seeking new allies, particularly among those races who were hesitant to join our side." "Then we must act quickly," Sarah interjected, her determination flaring. "If they are looking to rally support, we need to make our presence known. We must demonstrate our strength and resolve to other races in the galaxy." "Agreed." Lai said. We should send out scouting missions to locate the remaining fleets. If we can find them before they regroup, we can strike again and weaken their position. The room buzzed with ideas and strategies. They discussed various approaches, weighing the risks against the potential rewards. Sarah felt a sense of camaraderie growing among the different factions as they worked together toward a common goal. Hours passed as plans were laid out. Sarah felt the weight of leadership pressing down on her. She understood the stakes. This was about more than just their survival. It was about freedom, unity, and the future of countless lives. As the meeting concluded, Sarah took a moment to reflect. She walked to a window that overlooked the vastness of space. The stars twinkled like diamonds, and she felt a strange sense of peace amidst the chaos. "Captain," a voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Garcia, her trusted officer. "You've been quiet. Are you okay?" "I'm just thinking," she replied, turning to face him, "about the choices we've made and the challenges ahead. It's overwhelming at times, isn't it?" Garcia nodded, his expression earnest. "It is, but remember, we're all in this together. We've faced challenges before, and we've come out stronger. We have the Arcanites with us now. Their knowledge and strength will make a difference." "Right," Sarah said, her spirits lifting slightly. "We need to lean on each other and find strength in our alliances. It's what will see us through this war." As the day turned to night, Sarah and her crew prepared for their upcoming missions. They trained together, reinforcing their skills and strategies. Each member of the crew was aware of what was at stake. They were not just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for their friends, families, and for the future of their worlds. The next morning, the orders were given. Squadrons were formed, and crews prepared to head out. Sarah felt a sense of unity as she looked at her crew, each one committed to the mission ahead. The time for talk was over. Now it was time for action. Before they departed, Sarah gathered her crew for a final briefing. "We've come a long way, and we've faced challenges that seemed insurmountable. But we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for all those who believe in freedom and unity. The Galactic Council may think they can intimidate us, but they will soon learn that we are not afraid." A cheer erupted from the crew, their spirits high. They were ready. As they launched into space, the stars welcomed them back. They would navigate the void together, each ship representing hope and resilience. The Galactic Council would soon realize that humanity and their allies were not merely pawns in their game. They were fierce warriors willing to fight for their place in the galaxy. With determination in her heart and hope guiding their path, Sarah led her crew into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The storm was brewing, but they would meet it head-on, united in their fight for justice and freedom. Their destiny awaited, and they would not back down.